Okay, hello, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Cindy.
And welcome to Homeschool Roots. So today we're going to talk about how to make homeschooling fun. This is really important, guys, because one thing we want to make sure that when we're doing the homeschooling, we don't want to make it like something that your child will dread. We want it to be an enjoyable experience so your child is learning and they may not even realize they're learning. And so if we learn to associate learning with fun, they'll be more likely to be engaged and to want to absorb what you're trying to teach them. And so this is actually one of the ways, going back to our other video, if every day is a battle, this actually could help you for that as well, and how to make the lessons more fun. So let's go ahead and get started. Number one is use games your children love.
That's right. You can incorporate the games that your family plays together, whether it's Monopoly or Clue or Jenga or whatever games you have. You can have that game set up in your schoolroom or somewhere, and as you play together, you can keep an ongoing game. And when you finish a certain subject, you can go play the game for 20 minutes and do review questions in between the turns that you take. Maybe if your child answers a review question correctly, they get 2 rolls of the dice or 2 turns. Or if you're playing Monopoly and there's a negative consequence that they've lost money or lost property, if they can answer one of the bonus questions about a review question from your studies, maybe that will nullify the negative thing that they have in the game. So you can incorporate your review times into the games that they already love. And it also gives you a chance to play with your children, which is very important. Like Cameron said, you're not making your school an institution. It is a homeschool, and home is a place of nurture and fun, of acceptance and love. And so you can incorporate things that your children love into your day, and it will make the day go faster. It will also make those review times more enjoyable and less formal of just barking at questions and wanting answers back. So incorporate the games that they love and use those games in review questions that you use with your students.
Yes, and organizing games and their pieces are actually something that you can do. So for example, if you want to say you're teaching them the order of presidents, you could paste a picture of each president on their games, and so when they're putting their games away, they have to make sure they're stacking them in the right order. So George Washington first, obviously, and oh my God, just second President John. It was Washington. I know it, Adams and then Jefferson. Yeah. Okay. I need more homeschooling. All right. So it was. Yeah, so you're gonna have Washington first, Adams second, and then Jefferson, and so forth. And so if you do that, then it's a good way of teaching them, and they're learning, and they don't even realize they're learning. And
yes.
Also, even the pieces, you can make sure those are in the correct order, like you were saying.
That's right. You can. Young children need practice at sorting things, whether it's by color, by shape, by kind, and if your children will organize the game pieces, that's a good sorting activity. As they get older, like Cameron said, you can practice putting the games away in alphabetical order. If you're teaching organization by alphabetizing, you can put the names of presidents, or if you're studying a certain period of history, you can put the major dates. For example, if you're learning about the Civil War, you can put the major dates on the outside box of the game and have them put them in order and tell what event of the war happened in that year. And it's just another way to review that is fun and engaging, and it takes just a little time. The child knows they're not going to be doing that for hours on end. It's just another way to make the review time fun. Exactly. For the kids.
Next is Race Against Time. This one is really, really fun. So go ahead. You want to take that
sure.
one, or I can take it?
I can tell what it is. It's particularly if you have just one child, or if you 1 or 2, and it's not always fun to race against each other. If your children are separated by a few years in age, it always seems like the older one is going to win any kind of race. So instead of racing against each other, you can race against a clock and set a timer and see if your children can finish their assignment. If it's a math paper with 25 problems, you think about how long for them to really think about it, but to do it in a timely way. How long do they need? And you set the timer, and then it's a race against the clock before that timer goes off that the assignment is done. And of course, if they do that, there should be a reward at the end of something they like to do. Maybe it would be a break for a few minutes, or a particular snack, or you could keep a tally of how many times they beat the clock, and then if there were a larger prize, if after they have beaten the clock 10 times, there's pizza night, for dinner or whatever. You
That's
can make
favorite.
it fun. Yeah.
All right, so next is going to be make a game board on the wall. This is a really, really good idea, and especially if you want to just a little bit of kinesthetic learning, you're doing some art, and you're also incorporating your lesson by making a game board on the wall.
Yeah. Those are very easy to do. If you have colored paper, the A4 paper, that's a perfect size for squares on your wall. And you don't have to cut things, you don't have to make it a special size, you just get them up. Your child can...
That's if you want to do it easier, though. I
That's
think it'd be fun to cut and
That's right, if you want to...
make an activity, especially if they're really into that.
That's right, and their game pieces are where you can really get into
Exactly.
design. They can make an avatar of themselves for their game piece, or any kind of shape or animal or whatever your child likes, and they can paint it or color it or even make it 3D, and their game piece to move across the wall. And if you do that, maybe they move their piece so many spaces for the number of chapters read in a book, or getting a certain score or higher on their daily work. If you go through the game quickly, those are things that you can recycle and use it again, and see how many times you can get across that whole game board within a week.
Exactly. All right, so next is going to be develop skills in estimation by having a contest. So for example, the floor. Maybe the floor is 1 square meter or a meter. So then you can get the estimates. Okay, how many tiles will it take to get from here to the refrigerator?
Yeah.
And then having that teaches them estimation. And for example, how much ribbon will it take to go up the staircase? And teach them that, because learning how to estimate things is going to be very useful in their adult lives, because when they go out to buy meat, when they need to buy fabric, this will prevent them from being cheated when someone trying to sell them way more fabric than they need, or it is to be helpful. So maybe their friend wants to get a tablecloth, and they say, oh, I need 3 meters of fabric. But then your child will say, no, that table is 2 meters tops.
Yeah.
And just a funny story about estimation. I remember when I first moved to Asia, and I didn't really know what kilos were. And I went to the store and I said, okay, can I have 5 kilos of beef, please? And the guy just looked at me, and I was just like, what? I'm going to pay for it. He's like, all right. And then he comes out with this huge bag of meat, and I'm just like, what is this? Because I'm thinking pounds,
Yes.
But so he came out with 10 pounds worth of meat, and so I ate some of it, but then in Asia stuff freezer burns quickly, so I think it ended up being a big waste of money. But if I had those estimation skills in the metric system, that would have been a money saving thing for me.
Yes.
Exactly. So,
And you can let your children practice with that. You can pull out a package of meat out of your freezer and or out of the refrigerator, and ask your child, how many kilos or what part of a kilo do you think this is? How many grams?
Mm-hmm.
And the child can guess, and then you can weigh it and see how close they got. And they'll do that a few times, and then they can get quite good at it. And that, like Cameron said, that is an excellent skill to have, and makes your child feel smart. that they know how to estimate things like that, and also helps them from making costly mistakes.
Exactly. All right, next is going to be practice measuring and cooking. This actually used to work quite well. I'll tell a funny story though. I remember I was in second grade, and my mom was like, "Okay, we're gonna make some macaroni and cheese," and the recipe called for 1 cup of milk. So I took a glass and filled that up with milk, and I put that in the macaroni and cheese because I'm like, and then my sister's like, "What? It said a cup." She's like, not that cup."
You had macaroni and cheese soup.
Yeah, basically, exactly. Because I just took a big glass and put it in there. And so just, learning those skills is going to prevent those kind of mistakes. And especially metric, how many grams?
Mm-hmm. Grams.
Liters.
Weight,
Liters.
Okay. Yeah, our liquid. Yeah.
Maybe I'll cut that out. Okay. How many liters, milliliters, to cook. So just teaching them that should work. Obviously, I didn't get that because I was making these mistakes. But yeah, Cindy, you want to add something?
Well, it's just a good skill to have, the estimating, but also cooking in the kitchen, again, gives you another activity you and your children can do together. And it prepares them that's a life skill, to be able to prepare meals and to have some idea of what ingredients go in things. That over time, a simple recipe for pancakes or a cake or a hamburger,
learning how to make food from scratch.
Yes, that's right.
How do you make pancakes?
Yeah.
Wait, there's another way besides pouring it out of the box? Get the flour, the baking powder, the eggs. And, I don't know, for me, it's like, there was a time when I couldn't turn on the stove. She knows about it. And then, to go from that to, I make jerk chicken and, having people into my home and enjoying my cooking. Yeah. I mean, because when I grew up very old school, like, men didn't cook, like, in my family. And so just learning those skills and having those skills would have been nicer to have, as a child growing up. Whereas my parents kind of gave up after I put the glass of
They didn't ask you to fix the macaroni and cheese ever again.
Yeah, exactly. But just, having those skills for your child, a boy or girl, because both sexes should know how to cook and how to prepare their own meals.
And if your child enjoys cooking, then you can look up recipes from different nations, and you can tie that into your geography lessons, and maybe have a night, a Japanese night, and you have a Japanese dish for your meal, and maybe you talk about the clothing, and my girls love to take fabric and design different styles of clothes with them, and even trash bags. They've made trash bag dresses and formal wear out of trash bags, and you can have all kinds of fun with that, but they're also learning, but it's enjoyable for the whole family.
Exactly. And this is actually number 7 is one that I really, really like, is have them read a book and then watch a movie of the book, and you'll see there's so much of a difference. And how the book almost 95% of the time is way better than the movie, because in the movie they have to adapt it and you're kind of seeing someone else's vision, whereas in a book you can make up what this person looks like and make them more relatable to yourself, and just there's so much more depth to the characters in a book than you're going to get in a movie. So you can have them read a book and then watch the movie, and then you can actually have them make up their own play, and so then they can have their vision of what the characters look like, what the characters sounded like, what the characters wore, in their own play, as opposed to just some corporate entity's money-making vision.
Yes, that's right. And some children love to make up plays and to design costumes and a set. And if you don't want to watch the movie, then, make up your own play about it, or have them, if you're studying in English, if you're studying poetry, you could have them write haiku poems about the book they just read, or about one of the characters, describing the character in a haiku poem. And there's just no end to ways that you can make things enjoyable and also still be learning.
I remember when I was learning Spanish, we did like a clip of the Jerry Springer show. We're not recommending that, but but it just made it so much funner
Yeah.
to just make our own little play of like the Jerry Springer show, or the Spanish version, which is Lara. That's their version in Mexico. But it was just fun to do. And just things like that could really help incorporate learning with fun, and so your child will enjoy it. Because after that, it was kind of cool to be able to speak in Spanish and have a jealous girlfriend and stuff. So.
Well, and you can do interviews with the characters from the book, somebody role playing who that character is, or a character that you're studying in history. And if a child reads a biography about them, then you or someone else, another student in your class, or someone can interview them as that character and ask questions about their life and their work and what they did. So again, the idea is to engage your children's imagination as well as just their mind.
Exactly. All right, and then 8 and last is good. Wait, no. 8 and last is going to, I'll cut that. Yeah, so 8 and last is going to be let students make an online newsletter about what they're learning for their friends and family far away. In this day and age of social media, if you teach them how to write their own newsletters, and then of course, their grandma or their cousin, from Florida is going to be cheering them on the way, and it'll encourage them to write.
Yes.
And so.
And it's also good training for graphic design. You can get a template, but once they know how to place things, then let them make their own template, and they can take pictures for their newsletter. They can include articles about the recipes that you used, in cooking. They can look at what would normally be included in a regular newspaper, what kind of sections there are, and maybe your newsletter will have sections. And so it gives them practice in writing and editing, but also in layout design and graphic arts and photography. They can use a lot of skills in making that newsletter. And for the child that maybe doesn't enjoy speaking publicly, it gives them a way to report about what they're doing and organize their thoughts that doesn't require them to do something that's out of their comfort zone.
Exactly. And so the point is So the main thing is we want you to understand is you can incorporate what works for you. But the goal that we're trying to convey in this video is just to make it so it is as fun as possible. Yes, there is a desk component where they are going to need to sit down and do the work. But if we can incorporate as much fun activities into it as possible, you're less likely to get a battle when it is time for them to sit down and just read the book and do things. Homeschooling is not parking your child in front of a computer at a desk. And your studies show, in these days of COVID, these kids they didn't learn anything, basically during the COVID, because that's not how children work. So we want to make sure that we're making the experience as impactful and interesting for your child. Because remember, your child is not a miniature adult. Your child is a developing, growing human being that just needs extra attention and love and excitement in order to stay engaged.
Yes, and those things that we've been talking about are also challenging for them. Our history is built on homeschooling. The institutionalized school has really not been around all that long. And most people in the past learned in their homes or in very small groups, more of a home type setting. But they were great scholars because they were challenged to do more, to learn more, to experience more, to try out the things that they were learning. And if you can incorporate as many activities, the more senses that you use, your 5 senses, the more senses that you use in learning, the better your child will retain what they're studying. So don't just expect them to always read things. or even just listen.
Would you want to
them.
do that?
No.
I mean, you know, let's be honest. I mean, these games make it more fun for you.
That's
because,
right.
you know, I read a lot of homeschool forums, and I'm seeing a lot of moms are just like, I'm just burnt out by this, and, you know, so you got to think about yourself as well. By incorporating these games, it makes it a more interesting experience for you.
Yes.
Because not only do you get to play, but again, you know, you're not having to, you know, fight that battle just to get them to focus and pay attention. So.
Takes a little creativity, but most any activity that you need to do together as a family, whether it's, you know, going to the market, estimate the distance that you're going to travel, have them mentally try to keep track of how much money you're going to be spending and see how close you are by the time you check out. You know, how close you got to what you thought you were going to spend. There's all kinds of ways that you can help your child to learn and incorporate them into the day and make it fun and interesting and also practical. And, you know, we are developing and nurturing well-rounded adults who are well-educated, but also who know how to figure things out. For things that maybe they haven't learned or new things that come, that they are scholars for their whole lives long.
I remember I was at the store one day and I wanted some candy. And my dad said, okay, you can have some candy if you look at this one and look at this one. You tell me which is cheaper. But you can't just look at the price. Tell me how much is cheaper per gram.
Right.
So then I looked at it and I was like, oh, no, that one's only 99 cents. He's like, yes. But that one you only get like, you know, half a gram. This one may be $1.50, but you get two. So I didn't get the candy that day. But it taught me to always look at the quantity, not just the price. And I'm well into my adulthood, and that taught me a valuable lesson.
You still remember that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Sandy and I want to thank you so much for watching our videos. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe and make a comment on our video. It helps us a lot and encourages us so we can still keep making them. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.